Hello there and welcome everyone to this 8th part in this video tutorial series about the Win32 API. So today we're going to have a look at the open file dialog boxes. So I'll give you an example here. So this is the open file dialog box and you can use it to open files. So how these actually work at the program level is that I click this file and I click open. So this dialog box will return the path of the file which I selected to the program, and the program can now act upon the path and open the file or get its layout, get its contents or whatever. So we're going to work with this, and now I'll show you the initial setup of my code. So I removed most of the code from the previous parts, and now this is what it looks like. So there's this edit box, which we will use to print the contents of a file which we're going to read, and then there's this open file button. It does not do anything yet. But we'll use this button to open the dialog box, which will from where we'll select the file which we need to open. So first we need to handle the event when the button is clicked. So for that we'll need a constant. We'll define open file button 1. And so there is this add controls function which creates both the button and the edit box. The edit box contains multi-line feature and the auto vertical scrolling. So you can enable this if you want. So there's this button, and the third last parameter is actually the ID of the button. So it's menu, and we'll give an ID to the button so that we can handle the messages when this button is clicked. So it was open file button, this thing. We've covered all this, how to give IDs to the buttons, how to handle the button clicks, etc. in the previous part. So there's this constant, and now we'll need to define here in the window procedure we need to handle this message. So so when the button is clicked, the message which will be passed will be wm command, and to specifically know what button was clicked, we need to switch again. We need to check the w parameter. So switch w parameter, and now we can check the case open file button, and now we can break out of it. So now when the button open file button was clicked, we need to call another function which will actually display the box on the dialog on the screen. So we'll call the function open file, and it'll take the window handler of the parent window as an argument because we'll need to use this. We'll just know why. So we need to call this function now from here, open file with the window handler as the argument, and now we've called this function, and now we need to start defining the dialog box. Now the procedure to create this open file dialog box is a bit different from the others. So we need to first create a structure and fill in all its members, and that structure will define the basic prototype of this dialog box, and then we can use a function to display this dialog box. So first we need to create the structure. The structure is called open file name, and we'll call it OFN. And now we need to the first thing we'll do is we'll set all its element to 0 using the 0 memory function. This is a part of the C++ library. This is a macro actually. You can look up on Google for more information about this function. So the basic thing it does is that it sets the value of the bytes in the specified address to 0. So I'll give the address of OFN, and then the second argument is the length up to which the byte should be 0. So that will be the entire length of the structure, size of open file name. So basically all the elements of the structure will be set to 0 initially, and now we need to start filling in the elements. So the first element will be L structure size, so this bytes that this variable will actually occupy, so that this will be the same size of open file name. Now the next thing we need to set, let me just have a look. The next thing will be the owner, the parent window of this. So swnd owner, we have the handler of the parent window, so we need to specify this here. And the next thing we need to set is the lpstr file. So this actually stores the the path of the file that the user has selected. So we need to declare a string separately for this. So we'll do char file name. The path of the file will make it 100 characters long. So now we need to assign it to this file name. So the actual data, the actual name of the string and name of the file will be stored inside this string. And so we have assigned this string, so the data will be stored inside this. And it is also used as a default file for this dialog box. So when the dialog box is open, the default file which is selected will be the stuff stored inside this string. So in this case, we do not want any default file. So what we need to do is that we need to set the first element of this string to a terminating character. So lpstr file. So the first element of the string will be a terminating character. So that means there is no default file. But if we do not set this to this null, this might give unexpected results. So you need to always set this to this null terminating character. So we're done here, and the next thing we need to initialize will be the maximum size of the buffer. So this n max I'm sorry, I just forgot what nmax file. So this is of the integer type, which specifies the maximum buffer length of the path of the file to be read. So we have the size of the file name variable equal to 100 bytes, so we'll just set it to 100 as well, because the 100 is the maximum size of the buffer, maximum size of the path that can be read. And after getting this, the next thing we need to set is the filter, lpstr filter. Now what is a filter? Now to demonstrate, I'll open the dialog box, and you can see this drop down menu here, which from where you can select the type of files which are to be shown. So this is actually the filter. So by default it is all files, and file types with all extensions are shown. But if you go up there and select C++ files, only the files with extension .c or .c++ will be shown. So you can see only main.cpp is being shown now here. So this is actually these are actually called the filters, which will modify what type of files are shown. So to create this, we need to fill in this lpstr filter variable. And now how this works is it takes pairs of strings which are terminated with terminating characters. I'll just give you a demo here. So let's say if you want the first option inside the drop down menu to be all files, so we'll type all files, and now we need to specify what type of extensions will it correspond to. So we'll terminate the string, and then the using the terminating character, and then there will be the next string which will specify what type of files this will correspond to. So this will be anything dot anything. So the star, the asterisk sign signifies that anything can be here dot anything. So like these can be text.cpp, source.txt or whatever. So any extensions and any names, all files. So this is our first pair, and we need to terminate this. So you can see at the end this string is terminated with 2 terminating characters. So this will be one option in our drop down menu list. If you want multiple options, what you can do, you can add another type just like this. So I'll add source files, and then I'll terminate this, and then it'll correspond to anything.cpp. So when you select this source files option, anything with cpp extension will be shown. So this makes the second pair. We need to terminate this as well. Similarly, you can add third option for the text files. So text files have the extension of .txt and will terminate this. Make sure you terminate the end of the string. So once you terminate it yourselves, and the second time the string will terminate itself. So there will be two terminating characters at the end. So now I'll just copy this entire text and paste it here. So these will be our three options: all files with this, source files with this extension, and then the text files with this extension. So now we need to specify the particular index for this. So n filter index. So what index specifies is that the default option which is selected. Like I specify the index 1, all files will be selected by the default when the box is opened. If I type 2 here, the source files will be selected by default. So we just want all files by default, and I think this is pretty much it. Okay, so that was pretty much it, and now we can move on. So now we have specified all the members of the structure. Now we can actually call the function to display the message box. So the function is GetOpenFileName, and we need to call it using this structure, the argument. And so a dialog box, open file dialog box, will be created using this structure. So let's build and run to check if this is working. And there it is. And now if I press the open file button, this displays this thing. And now this is the drop down menu. You can see it here. All files is selected by default, and if I click source files, only the files with extension cpp are shown. And now if I click text files, only the files with extension .txt are shown. If I select a file and click open, nothing shows up because we have not yet worked with it. We have not yet added the functionality. And now how do you open the particular file? You need to know that the after this function, the getOpenFile returns, it sets the file path of the selected file path, which is actually stored inside the lpstr file name. If this function returns successfully, the file path of the file that you selected will already be stored inside this variable. So that means we already have the file path. We just need to use it to open the particular file. If you want to experiment, you can use a message box to display the content. Message box, so ofn.lpstr file, and let's see if this is working. So I click open file, and then I click this file and click open, and there it goes. The entire path of the file is shown inside this message box. So that means this is working. And now we need to use some functionality provided by your language. You can use whatever utility you want to read the file in the particular path and print it onto the screen. I'll show you a basic demonstration of that here. You can use any utility you want, but I'll use the standard input output library of the C language. So we need to include this. And I forgot to tell you one thing, that in order for this function to work, getOpenFileName, you need to go to the project. You need to add a reference to a particular library, which is actually project.build options, and you can go to linker settings, and you need to add a reference to this library. I'll do it again for you for the demonstration purpose. So I'll go add, then I'll browse the file. So this is actually present inside this path. So I'll copy the entire path. So the file library that you need to add is lib comdlg. So this lib comdlg32.a. The name might be different for different compilers, but this is the one that MinGW uses. So lib comdlg32.a. So comdlg will already always be there, but I'm not sure about the lib and .a for the other compilers, so that depends on the compilers. You can google it if you want, but reference you need for to use this dialog box. So if we want to see the entire path, I'll show you here. It is so here in the compiler directory of min.gw, you can go inside this folder, and then inside the lib folder you'll find this file. So there are various libraries and you can find it here. There it is. So you need to open this and add its reference to your IDE. So only then you can use this GetOpenFileName function. Back to where we were, I included this standard input output library, and now I need to define the function to display the contents of the file. So I'll call it display file, and it'll take a parameter which is the path of the file. So char path. So we need to call this function from here. So display file. The path is stored in ofn, sorry, .lpstr file. So this is where the path is stored, and this will be passed into this display file function. Now I can create the file pointer. So this is actually a utility of the C language. You can Google it more if you want. These are called the file pointers. You can look up on Google for more information on this. I'll not go into much detail here. So I'll open the file using the fopen function. The first argument is the path of the file, and the second argument is the read mode. So R corresponds to read only, and RB corresponds to read binary. So if we read in binary mode, the bytes will be read. So we need to read individual characters, so that is what we're going to do here. And now open the file, and now I first need to know how much size of the file you need to read. So that'll mean I need to know the entire number of characters in the file. So for that you can do one thing. There's this thing you can do. So you first need to do fseek function. You need to seek at the end of the file. To go at the end of the file, you need to use the fseek function, and the first argument is the file, and the second argument is the offset, which will keep 0, and the origin third argument is the origin. So I'll go seek end. So I'll seek to the end, 0 bytes away from the end, so exactly at the end. So now we are at the end of the file, and now we can see what position we are at, and that will be the size of the file. So ftell function gives you the current position of the file. So we'll store the current position, and that will be the size of the file. So int size equal to ftell file. We have the size of the file inside this now, and now we'll rewind so that we can go again to the start of the file, because we need to read it now. And first we need to define a string in which we want to read it. So we'll call it char data equal to new char. Now we need to declare the string using the new keyword, because we need to declare a big string. So the size will be allocated memory will be size +1, because we also need a terminating character for our string. So now we have the string, and now we can read the data using fread function. So the first argument is the destination to which the position, the pointer to the position where we want to store the data. So that is the data, this string. And the next argument is the element size. So the size of the element to be read will be the whole file, so that will just be the size. We'll read the entire file at once. And now the count, how many times we need to read, so only once. So the entire file will be read only at once. And the next argument is the file name. So the data has been read into this data variable, and now we need to set its last element as a terminating character. So what I'll do is data size the element at this position will be a terminating character, so this will terminate the string. And now we have all the data present inside the file, and now we can set this as the content of the edit box, this right here. So first we need a window handler for this edit box. So I'll go up there and define a new window handler, h edit, and I'll go down there and I'll set it equal to this. So this will be a window handler for the edit box now. Then I'll go up here and use the set window text function to set its content, the content of the edit box, to this data, and that should work. We'll now build an array to check if there are any errors. So I'll go open file, and there's a whole lot of files, and this is working perfectly. I'll go C drive, and we need to find a source file here. So there's this main.cpp. I'll click open, and here is the entire text of the file. And now you can see this problem that I think the problem was with the file, because there are no string, no line ending characters. I'll just go here, use the settings. Okay, this file works perfectly. So we have opened the file and we've read the contents of it, everything present inside it. We can try this with a different file. I'll go here. Let's see if we have a file that we can read. Okay, there is a file. So this is working perfectly, and you can use this in your applications, like you're creating a text editor. You can use this functionality of the Win32 API to read files. And in the next part, we'll see how you can edit the files and then you can save them. So now we learned about the open file dialog box, and now we'll learn in the next part we'll learn about the save file dialog box. So that was all. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for watching.